Hello, how's everybody doing today? My name is Indy. Last time I was on here, we were speaking about door-to-door service and how I met a man that taught me Jesus wanted me to learn the truth and to study, question things. Anyways, today I was speaking with some other members about different things from when we were kids, and I remembered a different story about door-to-door preaching. I was with a couple of elders and another young man who was about 5 years older than myself. He was a different elder's son, and this man really, a young man, really believed in the organization. He believed in what he was preaching. We were preaching once again down in the United States, there along the border, and we had long times in the car traveling from one little area to the next to keep filling out our card. Make sure we get all the houses, go knock on every door. But sometimes you're driving for 20, 30 minutes, and we had a lot of time to talk. So we started talking about hobbies. And I don't know, I was reading some book or something, I guess, at school about skydiving, and I said I wanted to go skydiving. And the young brother sitting next to me, he was just an adamant believer. It was God's way, Jehovah's way, or it was no way. And he turns to me, and I remember this so clear. He goes, "Skydiving hurts Jehovah." And what I had to think for a second. What is he talking about? It didn't make any sense. What do you mean skydiving hurts Jehovah? He goes, if your parachute fails or something happens, you're going to end up dying. You're risking your life needlessly. And it didn't make a lot of sense to me because, according to everything I'd read, it's pretty safe. A lot of people do it. There's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people jumping out of planes. And, it's very rare that there's an accident even back then. It was a growing sport at the time. I didn't say anything. All right, it hurts Jehovah, so I just kept my mouth shut. This gentleman, this young man that had said this to me, and the two elders up front, were pretty much giving him the thumbs up or whatever, because he was a really strong witness. He was strong in the faith. Anyways, this young man, I'd left the faith. I think I was around 19 years old or 20 years old, and he dies. And I'd heard from one of my friends back in that area, I didn't live there anymore, that he'd passed away, and I just didn't believe it because he was in his mid-20s, and he was a healthy young man the whole time I knew him. Like, he didn't have any issues. I end up speaking to my sister, my younger sister. She comes into town, and she stops at my place of business at the time and asks if I'd like to go for coffee with her. And I said, sure. And she had another sister with her, elder's daughter. And the two of them had actually come to see, now that I wasn't living with my worldly parents anymore, that maybe that evil influence was out of my life, they could convince me to start going back to meetings. Anyways, I got in the vehicle, and we start driving, and it popped into my head about this gentleman passing away, and we all knew him. The family they were good Jehovah's Witnesses, and they had quite a few kids, but they're a strong family in the faith. I asked my sister, I said, did this young man really pass away? And she turns with this big smile on her face, and she says to me that, yeah, he passed away. He had some blood disorder, but he refused to take a blood transfusion right up to the end. They were so and the other sister that was driving the vehicle, they were both smiling from ear to ear. I'm crushed. Like, I like this guy. But they weren't upset that he died. they were so happy that his faith was so strong, he didn't even take a blood transfusion. He had some blood disorder or something. Right up to the end, he stayed faithful to Jehovah, and you know, his death was almost like it was meaningless to them. The only thing that mattered was that he hadn't taken blood. He died instead. It was just retarded. Anyways, this all started from the skydiving hurting Jehovah. I didn't say anything for the rest of that day. I'm going back to when we were out door to door preaching that day. But I had a friend in the congregation my age I've spoken about before. He was with someone else, I guess, that day out door to door preaching, and I didn't end up seeing him until I think Monday that week. When we got to school, and I had to talk to him about this because everything seemed to hurt Jehovah. I couldn't play hockey because playing hockey with worldly people hurt Jehovah. I couldn't play baseball because I'd be playing with worldly people and that would hurt Jehovah. There's some times that we did play, we'd get all the kids together, not the parents or anything wouldn't get them together, but, we would, myself, my friend, and there was some other families, but, they're mostly younger than us, but we'd go out in the field and play a little, but it wasn't fun like it is when you actually have two full teams. But I asked him, I said, do you think it would hurt Jehovah if I jumped out of an airplane, went skydiving? He goes, I have to think about that, man. I'm not sure. I said, because it's really safe, and I'm telling him everything about how safe it is nowadays, how many people do it, how rarely there's accidents, la-di-da-di-da. I went into it aggressive, trying to get approval from this guy, so I had somebody on my side. And he was related. The family that brought him in, because his parents weren't Jehovah's Witnesses, the family that brought him in was that brother who told me that it would hurt Jehovah. That was his cousin. They're the people that brought this young man into the faith. And I guess he must have talked to that young brother's little brother, who was also in the same school as us at that time. And he came back to me after lunch, I think, or maybe on the bus on the way home at the end of the day. And he told me, I don't think it's a good idea that you think about jumping out of planes, skydiving or anything, because, you really need to show respect for your body and the life God gave you, and, with that whole spiel. I thought so much about that afterwards. It was in my head for weeks or months, because everything we did hurt Jehovah. We were always hurting Jehovah. If you roll over in bed and accidentally masturbate yourself by sleeping on your belly or something, you're going to hurt Jehovah. Or, jump out of an airplane, hurt Jehovah. Play baseball, hurt Jehovah. Play hockey, hurt Jehovah. Everything hurt Jehovah. Man, he had to be in pain all the time, because in different congregations, I knew lots of people that did things like this, that actually played on worldly teams, when they went to school and stuff. But in our congregation, it was just brutal. Every time I turned around, tuck in your shirt, you don't look right, that's going to hurt Jehovah. Everything was going to hurt Jehovah. So this little video I'm making today is just going to be called Hurting Jehovah or something, I guess, if I put it up. If you've had experiences like this, when you were a kid, please tell me some. I don't want to be that I was in some congregation that was just over the top. Like, if this is normal for everybody, if they heard this all the time when they were kids, please tell me. Because to this day, I don't get how you can keep telling kids that everything hurts Jehovah. All the time it's about hurting Jehovah and then having to die in Armageddon. Like, how is this healthy for any child? So if you have anything that you can tell me, please do.